Okay, fuckface. Take one big step forward. Well, you want to do this shit the hard way.
Alright. Take it easy. I just gotta scratch my nuts for a second.
Hurry up.
Back off, or I'll crush this jerk's head like a grape.
I don't give a shit. I hate that asshole. Bon voyage, shitbag!
This place smells like burnt jizz.
Get up, punk.
Your sucker punches are stupid. You know your guts are hanging out.
Why don't you take a closer look, asshole? Now I'm gonna split you in half and wear your lungs as underpants! Fuck!
Shit.
You filthy fuck! I'm through fucking around! This time I'm cutting your head off!
Come on, wimp. I'll even let you have a free shot. Come on! What are you waiting for? Want me to send you an Evite? Thanks, idiot.
Oh shit.
Dumbass. Disgusting.
You just fucked up, buddy. This is my turf. See that hill of skulls? My turf goes from that hill of skulls all the way over to those heads on sticks. and then over to that lake of blood. And rule number 1 when you're on my turf is you don't fuck with my shit! You stomped on my slorge!
Slorge? You mean that slug with a face? What, is that thing your girlfriend?
This idiot doesn't even know what a slorge is.
That's because he's a newbie. Listen, moron. This blood tree oozes slime, and the slorge eats the slime, and then the slorge digests the slime and shits out a drug called fecid. And when you take fecid, it makes you feel like you're the #1 most awesome fucking maniac. You killed my slorge. You're going to get me another one.
Fuck you. I ain't doing shit.
Well, it does look like we have a problem then. Rabies, rip this dickhead's esophagus out and bring it to me.
Gladly. You think you're a tough guy because you got all that blood on your face. And what's with the knee pads? Must come in handy for sucking cock.
Nice try. Who's next?
Oh, it's not over yet? Here comes chapter 2. Take a look.
I thought that was a little too easy. Asshole.
You goddamn motherfucker! I'm through fucking around! Psst. Wake up. Hey, you see this? Yeah. You want it back? Yeah? Well, if you want it back, you find me another slorge. But you better hurry. This thing isn't gonna last very long. Come on, ass rat. Let's move.
Slorge. You're coming with me.
Hey! Drop that sludge! Mine!
No.
Mine! Give me!
No! Fuck off, twerp! Holy shit! Alright, asshole! I'm through fucking around! I'm gonna eat your fucking face off! Shit!
When you fuck with me, you'll get killed!
I can hear you talking inside my head. Yes. Yeah.
Alternative exists in opposition to the mainstream. And in American comic books, the mainstream has always been juvenilia and kind of escapist literature for younger boys. So they're the mainstream and we are the underground or the alternative. People ask, what are you looking for? And the only common denominator amongst the books that Fantagraphics publishes is a personal vision executed, with good cartooning. And it's that simple. It can be any subject. It can, the content is really limitless. By the time I got into high school, I lost interest in superheroes and for whatever reason just started being attracted to alternative comics. I think I liked the more idiosyncratic art styles. I think I was always visually attracted to comics for the art, even above and beyond the content. But also as I started to appreciate content a little bit more, I became attracted to particularly really transgressive things that I think, were just sort of pushing the envelope of what I knew was even capable of being done in art.
I always loved comics. I always loved comic books. When I was a kid, I mainly liked the funny stuff. And when I was a kid, I thought all of it was funny. And I liked Mad Magazine. I never was much of a superhero fan. But I decided to become a cartoonist when I discovered underground comics, especially Robert Crumb's comics. The old Warner Brothers cartoons from the 1940s, there were ones that were directed by someone named Bob Clampett, and his were always the most exaggerated. They would be so exaggerated that as a kid, they sometimes scared me. And that's a lot of my favorite art would stick with me in that way, like Basil Wolverton, people like that, Big Daddy Roth. There was something frightening and threatening about their work that at first glance I'd think, I don't like this. But then I'd also be fascinated by it. That initial dislike would turn into love.
I mean, as a kid, I was sort of really, being a cartoonist was what I wanted to be. It kind of got derailed a couple times along the way, sort of put it to the side, but then I was always, I guess, kind of naturally drawn to it. And as a little kid, I was into Peanuts, but as I got a little older, I was very obsessed with Mad Magazine, and I went from Mad Magazine to the Marvel superhero stuff. And then when I got into my late teens, early 20s, I started to get pretty bored with superhero stuff, and I started to look for weirder stuff like Raw and more alternative stuff. I kind of was aware of Fantagraphics because when I was looking for alternative stuff, I was really into Robert Crumb. Fantagraphics published the complete Crumb. That had a huge impact on me. That was sort of like when I saw that, I was like, these are the types of comics I want to do. Even when I wasn't actually making official comics, I would fill up my school notebooks with shitty doodles and things.
I first became aware of Johnny Ryan's work in 2000, maybe. I started doing a regular comic called Hate, which I'm best known for in 1990. In the back pages of Hate, I used to plug people's self-published comics. I was very encouraging towards people doing the DIY stuff. I used to get swamped with self-published comic books, most of which were terrible, but his were really good, and I was surprised that he already had 3 or 4 issues out and never sent them to me. And I loved them. I just thought they were very funny, very unpretentious, very no nonsense, just almost like a perfect comic to me, a perfect humor comic, and that he should be getting published, that he shouldn't be self-published anymore. And I asked him, why didn't you send it to me sooner? Didn't you want to plug in Hate? And he told me, well, I'm really embarrassed to say this, but I never heard of you until recently.
Pete was doing Hate, and I didn't read Hate until he was done with Hate. And I was drawing comics, but I was kind of living in my own little bubble. That's when I was living in Washington, D.C., and I was starting to make an effort to try to get more involved in the comic scene as it was. I didn't know at that point that he had even stopped making it. And then he showed it to Fantagraphics, Eric at Fantagraphics, and Eric was really into it. I was doing Angry Comics at Fantagraphics. That started in 2001, I think. It was an adult humor comic. It was very aggressive, angry. But it was I sort of made an effort to every panel was just crammed full of jokes and stuff. Maybe it was too much. Prison Pit started later on, and it started around 2008, 9, something like that. The way Angry Youth Comics was set up, it was sort of like a variety of different comics all in one. And so there was the idea that like maybe it could be an Angry Youth Comics, just sort of like serialize it, but it didn't seem to really fit. I initially pitched it as just sort of like a floppy comic book, like Angry Youth Comics was, but they weren't into doing those types of comics anymore. They wanted books. So I was like, okay, I'll just rejigger it as a book. I just kind of like switched from doing Angry Youth Comics to Prison Pit. There was a combination of things that I was reading and I was watching kind of made me feel like I want to do some kind of like serious action adventure type comic that's sort of like completely unironic, just like straight ahead, violent action, and just kind of like boil it down to its like very essence, which is just like big monster guys beating the shit out of each other. That was one of the reasons I put him in this sort of negative zone, this prison pit. There's no like buildings or like crazy architecture or anything like that, because I wanted to solely focus on fighting. Like, because that's sort of like, I was like, you know, before I started, I was like, what do I feel like drawing? I feel like drawing guys fighting. You know, I don't feel like drawing a building, and I don't feel like drawing a car. I don't feel like drawing a phone. I want to draw guys fighting. Like, how can I do this without having to draw all this other shit that I don't draw? There's no backstory. Like, I never go back and I never show you like, why is he there? There is sort of like a clue that comes, I think, in the last book, book 5. This guy who's looking for Fuckface throughout a few of the books makes a comment that you, Fuckface, killed and raped every single person on my planet, and now I'm going to get revenge on you. So it kind of gives you a little insight on like maybe that was sort of like his deal. Like maybe he just like jumped from planet to planet, raping and killing everything that he saw. And I like that element to it, that you're sort of, you know, as a reader, you're forced to cheer for somebody who's pretty awful. Wrestling was an influence on the book in a big way. Just sort of like that banter. That was always my favorite part about wrestling, was just sort of the way they talk to each other.
And what's with the knee pads? Must come in handy for sucking cock.
There's a humorous quality to it, but it's sort of like, I kind of liken it to like when you're watching wrestling or you're watching like a horror movie and you see somebody like get like cut in two by an axe and you see their body kind of like fall apart. I usually laugh at stuff like that. So in that sense, the book is funny, but my approach to it is always sort of like very serious. It's probably the most popular book I've done. I mean, put that in perspective, it's not like selling like Batman or something. There's fans of mine that don't like Prison Pit, that like my humor stuff. And there's fans of Prison Pit who had no interest in my stuff before Prison Pit. So I guess in that regard, you know, I'm sort of like, you know, I might meet a new batch of fans that I would have known if I had not done this, if I had just kept doing the humor comics that I was doing.
Prison Pit, ever since it started, is like unequivocally almost always our best-selling book at conventions. People just see it and they love it, and we can't bring enough. It resonates with people in a way that I don't think any of us fully expected.
I first saw Prison Pit when we were just kind of walking around Los Feliz, and there's a bookstore there called Skylight Books. You know, as soon as I opened it, like, I mean, right away, I was all in. You know, it was the way the violence was handled, and it was also the way the characters talked to each other was so amazing to me and so refreshing. You know, when you make comics, not in a bad way, just you get a little disillusioned, and you know what's behind the curtain now. So when I've been making comics for a really long time, so it's kind of like you stop reading them. Like you only read, like, you know, you'll go back and read Love and Rockets, and you won't find a lot of new stuff that jazzes you, and superhero stuff like just becomes a non-option anymore. But you know, I picked this up and it was one of the most refreshing things I'd ever read, and it made me feel like the stuff I was reading when I was a kid. You know, it was like a grown-up version of the stuff I was reading. Like, the characters were saying things that I almost wished, like the X-Men would say to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants when they were fighting them. It's like how I wish they would talk to each other.
I'm gonna eat your fucking face off!
I've gotten fan art from like Spain, from Italy, Australia. I'm often like surprised. And that's also something about the book, the Prison Pit book. I think it sort of translates better than the humor stuff. Humor can be kind of specific towards the country you live in. Whereas I think violence is sort of, you know, wherever you go, it's where somebody rips somebody else in half. I think anybody can appreciate that. Doesn't matter where you live. Sometimes I'll see like people have made their own dolls and stuff online. Like girlfriends make their boyfriends like stuffed dolls or something. Cannibal Fuckface, which is adorable.
I bought a piece of Johnny's art. I could find the page too. I love keeping art. I don't buy it as an investment or to sell it, but at the same time, it felt like it was, Prison Pit feels important. So I wanted a page from something that was so important, because I feel like years from now, the way, you know, people will look at it is that, you know, it changed a lot about comics and it had an important impact. So this is the page I got from Johnny, and it's one of my favorite pages because I don't know who this guy is or his name, but I love him, and he says, "Release the Holocaust Brothers." And it's one of the most amazing build-ups to seeing a couple of characters that I've ever seen in a book. I can't wait to get it framed, actually. Put it up on the wall.
Well, by the time I saw his work, I was already going in this very, very different direction. But I was sort of envious when I saw his work, simply because I was getting older and I was expected to do something more mature, for lack of a better word. I just loved that no-nonsense fun, that unabashed recklessness. Alternative comics in particular started taking, well, everybody in the field started taking themselves a lot more seriously. And it made me a bit, it's something that I always resisted, but his work made me realize I'm starting to take myself more seriously too. You know, this guy is just unadulterated lunacy, which was sorely missing by the time he came around.
I consider him one of my best pals in comics, and his work speaks to me very much. And he's carrying on a proud torch of a kind of breed of underground comics, like the transgressive kind of quality of the great underground comics of the late 60s that in a lot of ways I think has sort of fallen out of favor. And I love that he's just kind of still carrying that torch.
I wasn't sort of concerned like, oh, this is going to be a great cartoon someday. Like, I was just sort of like, this is just going to be a really fucking weird comic. Because I was thinking like, you know, who's gonna want to, where are they going to show this? Like, you know, the guy, he has like a big worm on his hand that sucks his cock, his barbed cock at the end. Like, who's going to show that? Like where? In a movie? On TV?
I don't know if you want to like have the thing like throbbing a bit or something. Oh, yeah.
I don't think they'd be able to show this shit on TV. 6 Point Harness, RugBurn, they wanted to keep strictly to the book.
6 Point Harness, we've been around for 10 years. We started, myself and Brendan Birch and Dave Amos, partners in the studio. We've like run the gamut. We just wrapped on Cosmos for Fox, which was like a huge, prestigious, important, great job that we did that actually was good for society. And then we make Prison Pit too. What I love about it is that it's got that feel that it was made by this really twisted like 7th grader, and it was drawn in the margins of his peachy folder, and that you've got to, you know, you see that and you know that that kid like needs help. To me, it's like a lovingly handcrafted tribute to cruelty and sadism and mindless violence. It's what I love is the care that has gone into it. Every drop of bile is sketched in with. I mean, you can feel the love that Johnny's put into it for sure. There's probably 8 to 10 animators working right now on Prison Pit.
We just wanted to make it look dirty. We wanted to make it look like it was like filmed on human skin. Like it was very rough, bloody, and disgusting. Every character sounds like their throat's been raped with a bottle brush, so all my life I've been preparing for this.
Prison Pit is just a bunch of ugly monsters and ultra violence. That's it. Slorgs and sloops and just other words you make up and just violence, blood and guts. Yep, blood and guts. More blood and guts. Skulls. Blood and guts. Guy on a cactus. Guy stabbing himself. It's all blood and guts.
Prison Pit is about Cannibal Fuckface, a dude who just pretty much tears through some desolate worlds and just kills everything, leaves a wake of destruction. You can't kill the dude. It's pretty cool. You watch him just get torn apart and split people in half. It's some of Johnny's best work. Prison Pit kind of reminds me of like when I used to play G.I. Joes when I was a kid. Like, you know, you'd pick your like favorite character and no matter what the other G.I. Joes would do, like, just cannot be destroyed. I don't know, something really throws me back about how, you know, just you can't kill him. Endless possibilities.
I've been lucky enough to play a big part in the animated version of Prison Pit, and that is Cannibal Fuckface. He's this guy on the cover. There he is decimating one of his opponents. We first find him being sentenced to the prison pit, and he has the foresight to take a guard with him. From that point on, it's just fight after fight after fight that he's thrown into in this horrible nightmare-scape. Slicing and being sliced and coming on things and being came upon. Is that the being come upon? Excuse me. Past participle.
His voice is like way down here. His voice is it's down below Kyle Kinane. His voice exists in the bottom of the netherworld.
And then on top of that, it's just a bunch of fights that involve biting and vomiting and sounds of disgust and heavy physical difficulties.
I'm done fucking around.
What is that thing, your girlfriend?
I thought that was a little too easy.
Look, this dude's getting ripped in half. He's got little ribs in there. Just putting his fist through his head. This is the things nightmares are made of. And I love nightmares. I play Jizra, who is like a walking, talking, like gumball. A jizz ball.
Holy shit!
The jizz is what initially attracted me. I have this fascination with human and animal jizz. So you better believe I dove really deep into that character. For the part, I spent 12 days in a room of jizz-covered walls. Anytime you hear me gurgling, that was real jizz. Hollywood, baby.
What character? I don't know, like a goblin, something with horns that murders other things. The one with the swastika on his belt buckle. And I had to eat pudding. I had to eat pudding to do the voice. So I shirtlessly ate pudding in the sound booth, which not as erotic as it sounds.
I had heard on the Walking Dead when they record zombies that they make them eat Snickers bars, and it kind of coats their vocal cords with this kind of, you know, it's kind of gross, viscous quality to them. So we ended up getting stuff like chocolate pudding and heads of lettuce, and we recorded them eating and talking through levels of food in their throat to really give it this very viscous quality to their voices.
And it left a horrific mess afterwards, but I think it sounded pretty cool. Because there's something different about biting into something real as opposed to just trying to fake it, you know? It sounds better if you got something in your teeth.
Rick Shapiro I would say, is off his rocker. The rocker's not even in sight anymore. He's in orbit. Wonderfully so.
Okay, Fuckface, take one big step forward. Or do you want to do this shit the hard way? Please let me do it the hard way. This ain't either hard or easy. This is shit. You want to do this shit the shit way? Okay, Fuckface, we're gonna do this shit the shit way. Take a shit, one big shit, one more shit step. I don't know what I said. I meant shit. Take one big shit.
Hey, Rick.
Shotgun pauses.
No.
Am I horrible at this? I never do stuff like that.
There are times when we're very faithful to the comic, and he will watch our animation and say, make it grosser, make it worse, you know, make it more painful, make it splattery, add chunks of viscera and bile everywhere. You know, chum. It's basically human chum that he's like, you know. Now that we've got a fuller color palette, he wants to take advantage of it, and I think that's great.
I think they're doing a good job of like somehow like translating that imagery and making it work in a color cartoon.
I think the world is ready for Prison Pit. I'm excited. It's the main comic. I'm like, oh, you gotta read Prison Pit. I say it to everybody.
There's moments of struggle. There's moments of combat, hand to hand, dick to dick.
In hindsight, it makes perfect sense that it could be animated. I think I would have had a hard time envisioning it just because of the explicit content. You know, you need a partner and a platform that's going to allow you to do some pretty raunchy, profane stuff. Now that it's happening, it makes perfect sense because it's a very dynamic, fast-moving book.
When Prison Pit comes alive for the first time, it's going to be bigger and better than ever. Stay tuned. I can't wait to see it and hear it.